Central High, titled 1958 to 1959, The Lost Year. Governor Faubus.
I have signed into law the acts passed by the recent special session of the legislature. Acting under the powers and responsibilities imposed upon me by these laws, I have ordered closed the senior high schools of Little Rock in order to avoid the impending violence and disorder which would occur and to preserve the peace of the community.
The governor had decided to close all of the high schools. I just figured that this was going to not take very long. Maybe it would be another 3 weeks and then these schools would open up again. But that was not the case.
I remember getting calls from black kids on the day that school was supposed to open saying, you know, do something. We hate you for this. We don't have a school anymore. We are not sure we'll ever get a school back. So everything hit a hard rock kind of thing. Inside myself, I said, I cannot live through that again, because I felt like somebody had walked over my soul with cleats.
I thought, you know, they're going to start, and then they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't. And so finally, a lot of my classmates started going to Hot Springs or to England or to Sylvan Hills. And they started the private school. My family couldn't afford to go to a private school, so I started the school out at Mableville.
They asked us not to go to school other places because we are the plaintiffs in the case. So if we go enroll in other schools, what effect would that have, you see? So it was a difficult time.
I wondered if they'd ever have high school in Little Rock again, because it did seem to me that based on what had happened in '57, I didn't see an end to it. I really didn't see an end to it because it was not clear who was going to stand up and bring it to an end.
This whole notion of racial segregation and all that stuff, even though it was a given, it was irrational and illogical, so I never really gave it much credit. But I did think that education was and is important. And if you would close an institution in the name of segregation, that really made no sense.
Citizens of Little Rock, have you had enough? Save our teachers. Older white woman Margaret Kolb.
We all admired Miss Terry. She was our role model. And we got the Women's Emergency Committee organized in her home. And Miss Harry Ashmore and Dottie Morris and Irene Samuels. We were together day and night, and there was a lot of harassment on our street, and it did annoy some of the neighbors, and it frightened some because the White Citizens Council became very volatile. Their house sits in close proximity of the sidewalk and street, and a rock came right through the window of the front of the house. We're all working diligently, but through organizations like League of Women Voters, although they didn't take active political stands, they did a lot of the research for us and helping. But AAUW went all out and got radio and TV time and went on the air to try to reach everyone about the importance of what it would do to the economy of the community if we lost our public schools. And we took that approach considerably about the economy and what would happen if families moved out of Arkansas. This emergency committee did the legwork. People really turned out. And it was just like a football game almost. The enthusiasm was so great. And it showed that the people were there that were supportive of an integrated community. You just had to motivate them because it took leadership. And women, you know, they just press on when they believe in something, and they believe in their children. And they, somehow or other, were so dedicated. and it was exciting.
Tears in her eyes. Now Cynthia East.
It was called the integrationist versus the segregationist. Stop being the integrationist and segregationist obviously being the cross campaign. I remember asking my father, why don't we just vote on integration rather than this stop and this cross? And he said, and I'll just never forget it, he just looked me right in the eye and he said, honey, that's what we're doing. What did happen was that so many people who had remained silent before, when they started firing the teachers, it gave them something to kind of sink their teeth into. It rallied the forces, and then I remember my father, he certainly gained a lot of community respect, at least the part of the community that I think was the right part of the community. So we as children, we ended up being very, very proud of him. And it was, you know, the Stop campaign was in Life magazine. And we went up to the drugstore and bought the magazine, and here was the Stop campaign. So we ended up being very proud. It kind of gave a lot of people, I think, and a lot of our parents, that was sort of used, to use a modern day word, permission to go on and come out more in favor of it.
In front of Central High, a man with a microphone.
The high school kids are back in school in Little Rock, in famous Central High and in the other schools. And this time, it looks as if they'll stay there. You have to say that a majority of Little Rock's people now want their schools open, even if they have to swallow a little integration to keep them open.